Carla Montero's existence revolved around the relentless pursuit of upholding a facade. Each morning, she rose with the dawn to craft breakfast for Esteban, her husband, a distinguished businessman who had recently devoted more hours to meetings than to their home life. She brushed aside the clues, the late-night calls, the unfamiliar scents, assuring herself that all was well. The yearly business gala stood as the pinnacle event of the year. Carla had meticulously selected a red dress that had drained 3 months of her savings. As she prepared in front of the mirror, she sought to soothe the unease that had been churning in her stomach for weeks. All is well, he assured himself, even as his intuition shouted in protest. The grand hall of the Imperial Hotel gleamed with a warm, golden radiance. The atmosphere buzzed with laughter and chatter as Carla searched for Esteban amidst the throng of people. She discovered him near the champagne fountain, yet he was accompanied. Beside him, Valeria Ruiz, his youthful aide, beamed as he leaned in to share a secret with her. Carla stood still as Esteban grasped the microphone. His heart pounded fiercely, drowning out all sound. "I have something significant to share," he declared, his voice resonating across the space. "Life offers us chances to embrace our true selves. Today, I wish to share with you the story of the woman who holds my heart, Valeria." Whispers echoed softly throughout the space. Carla felt the weight of various gazes upon her, some laced with pity, others tinged with surprise, and a few steeped in contempt. Yet, all she could do was stand there, a silent witness to the disintegration of her world. She dashed from the room, tears clouding her sight. As she sat in the taxi on her way home, fragments of 12 years of marriage flickered in her mind, reminiscent of a disjointed film reel. There were always indications, the tardy returns, the work excursions, the hidden conversations. That night, as she gathered her belongings in what had once been her sanctuary, Carla realized that she had not merely lost her husband, she had also lost her sense of safety, her foundation, and the familiar life she once embraced. Amidst her tears, she stumbled upon a photograph from her graduation day, moment when she envisioned herself as a thriving businesswoman, before Esteban persuaded her that her true role was within the confines of home. As she carefully placed the photo in her suitcase, she made a vow to herself, "This time, I will live for me." Unbeknownst to Carla, the public humiliation she faced would mark the beginning of an unexpected journey, one that would lead her to a life beyond her wildest dreams. Meanwhile, in the heart of the city, a man named Nicholas Ferrer, notorious for his aloof demeanor in the business world, was destined to play a pivotal role in her path to redemption. The days that followed became a harrowing ordeal for Carla. Esteban had put a halt to all shared accounts and secured the house with new locks. His calls were met with silence, and his messages lingered in the void, untouched. Reality struck her with a jolt. "I found myself isolated and lacking in support." He found a modest, affordable hotel in the heart of the city for a short stay. "Each morning, I rose with the hope that it was merely a bad dream." Yet, the deteriorating roof and lumpy mattress served as constant reminders of his current situation. "I must speak with you," he penned to Esteban once again. The response was delivered via his attorney. A formal notification indicating that all correspondence must be conducted via legal counsel. As her savings rapidly diminished, Carla started her search for employment. However, following 12 years dedicated to being a stay-at-home mom, her resume appeared quite sparse. The interviews consistently concluded in the same manner. "Apologies, but we require someone with up-to-date experience." One afternoon, as he meticulously counted the coins remaining for a meal, he received a call from Maria, his sole friend who had stood by him following the scandal. "Carla, have you checked out the pictures on Instagram? Esteban and Valeria find themselves in the Maldives." The images shattered her. Her husband lounged on a sun-kissed beach, basking in the paradise, while she sat in a hotel room, savoring instant soups. Desperation started to engulf her. She parted with her jewelry, then her wedding ring, and ultimately her car. Every sale marked another fragment of his past slipping into the shadows. One evening, perched on the hotel bed, with merely 500 pesos in her wallet and a pile of rejected resumes, Carla found herself at her lowest point. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she gazed out the window at the twinkling lights of the city she had once called her own. What led me to this point? She pondered, recalling the moment she had set aside her aspirations to satisfy Esteban. He consistently maintained that a spouse should not have to seek employment, asserting that he would handle all responsibilities. At that moment, he grasped the cost of that reliance. A notification chimed, breaking the flow of his thoughts. I received an email from a company I didn't recall reaching out to, Grupo Ferrer Internacional. They sought an administrative assistant and planned to interview her the following day. While pressing her final respectable outfit, Carla caught a glimpse of herself in the smudged bathroom mirror. His eyes, weary yet resolute, glimmered with unwavering resolve. She was completely unaware of Nicholas Ferrer or the reason his company had reached out to her, yet one certainty lingered in her mind. This might be your final opportunity to rescue yourself. Tomorrow, he vowed to himself, I will begin anew. No matter the task at hand, it holds no significance. The Grupo Ferrer Internacional building rose majestically, a gleaming glass and steel edifice at the very core of the city's financial district. Carla, poised in the lobby with her resume clutched tightly, felt diminutive in the face of its magnificence. Good morning, I'm here for an interview, he said to the receptionist, making an effort to steady his voice. They brought her to the 40th floor, where the Human Resources office felt like a distant realm from the hotel where she rested. Following an hour filled with inquiries and assessments, the personnel director fixed her with a steady gaze. Madam Montero, I must speak candidly. While his recent experience raises some concerns, his testing abilities are truly outstanding. The role is for an assistant to Mr. Ferrer. It is important to understand that it requires a lot of effort. This month has seen 3 resignations. Carla clenched her hands under the desk. I am ready to put in the effort. I simply require an opportunity. His initial encounter with Nicholas Ferrer was fleeting and frosty. He stood tall, clad in an impeccable suit, his penetrating gaze barely acknowledging her presence as she stepped into his office. I have no interest in your background, he said, his gaze fixed on the papers before him. My focus is solely on the outcomes. Got it? Indeed, Mr. Ferrer. The initial days were unbearable. Nicholas insisted on flawless execution in all aspects, documents free of any mistakes, coffee served at the precise temperature, and a schedule meticulously organized down to the minute. His good mornings came out as little more than muffled grunts. Late one night, as she meticulously organized her documents, Carla stumbled upon a mistake in a crucial contract. With a moment of uncertainty, he mustered his resolve and rapped gently on Nicholas's door. Mr. Ferrer, there is an inconsistency in Clause 7.3 that could cost us millions. For the first time, he met her gaze directly. He examined the document with quiet contemplation before giving a nod of approval. Well done. Make the necessary adjustments. Little triumphs like that sustained her. Nevertheless, the initial months proved to be quite challenging. He found himself rectifying numerous mistakes in his reports, grappling with intense pressure from Ferrer, and even contemplated resigning on a few occasions. There were nights when she hardly slept, plagued by doubts about her abilities, yet gradually she adapted to the office's pace, familiarized herself with Nicholas' preferences, and started to foresee issues before they emerged. His modest salary enabled him to settle into a compact yet respectable apartment. Each evening, weary yet resolute, she perused online course options to enhance her skills, aware that she had much to demonstrate. One day, while pouring coffee at a significant meeting, he caught an executive referencing Esteban's name. His hand trembled just a bit, yet not a single drop was spilled. Nicholas, who appeared oblivious to personal matters, observed her for a brief moment. Later that afternoon, upon his departure, he discovered an envelope resting on his desk. A raise accompanied by enrollment in an executive management course arrived. The note, bearing Nicola's signature, stated only, to enhance your performance. For the first time in months, a genuine smile graced Carla's face. What he sought was not sympathy, but an opportunity to demonstrate his value. And while Nicholas Ferrer appeared as an unyielding iceberg, he was, at the very least, a just one. As time went on, Carla evolved into an essential component of Nicholas Ferrer's office. She had transcended her role as merely an assistant. He started to engage in significant meetings, offering insights that captivated the audience. One afternoon, amidst a pivotal presentation with international investors, the projector malfunctioned. As chaos unfolded, Carla swiftly crafted a presentation with whiteboards and hand-drawn graphs. His deep understanding of the topic captivated the investors, leading them to finalize the deal on the spot. Quite remarkable, Nicholas whispered after the meeting. It was the first instance I had witnessed him smile, even if just a little. The dynamic between them started to shift in subtle ways. Morning grunts evolved into brief exchanges. What started as straightforward orders evolved into a vibrant exchange of ideas. Nicholas began to seek her thoughts on matters of growing significance. One evening, as they toiled late on a crucial project, Nicholas caught her off guard with a personal inquiry. "Why did you take this position, Carla? Given your talent, you could have pursued something more promising." She paused before responding. "I needed a fresh start. At times, life compels you to transform." He gazed at her for an extended moment before giving a nod. "I understand that sensation." The news of his remarkable efficiency circulated within the company. Other executives sought his assistance on various special projects. Her office relocated nearer to Nicholas's, and her title was elevated to senior executive assistant. One morning, as he perused the financial newspaper, he came across a photograph of Esteban and Valeria at a social gathering. In that moment, he felt an unexpected absence of pain. Rather, a blend of pity and gratitude washed over him. If he hadn't betrayed her, she would never have uncovered her true potential. "All good?" Nicholas inquired, observing her distraction. "Better than ever," she replied sincerely. That afternoon, in the midst of a board meeting, Nicholas caught her off guard once more. "I propose that Carla spearhead the expansion project into the South American market," she declared to the board of directors. A wave of murmurs swept through the room. Some directors expressed doubt, but Nicholas quelled their concerns with a mere glance. In just 6 months, he demonstrated more skill than many have over the course of years. Were there any objections? None dared to challenge him. As they exited the meeting, Carla paused him. "Why do you have such faith in me?" Nicholas met her gaze, his intensity causing her to catch her breath. "Because I recognize in you what others fail to appreciate," he replied plainly before moving on. That night, as Carla drove to her apartment, she recognized that she was no longer the same heartbroken woman who had come seeking employment months earlier. She had transformed into someone new, someone resilient. And for the first time, the future didn't frighten her. The South American expansion project consumed Carla entirely. Late nights were spent immersed in market studies, competitor analyses, and strategic planning. Her small apartment transformed into a chaotic hub of sticky notes and projection charts. During discussions with international investors, his presence started to shine. She was no longer just Ferrer's assistant, she had transformed into the group strategist. Her approach to presenting projects, blending solid data with a forward-thinking vision, enthralled the audience. One afternoon, while presenting the implementation plan for Chile, he observed a shift in Nicholas' gaze. It was no longer the usual serious and analytical demeanor. Instead, there was an intriguing blend of admiration and an elusive emotion he couldn't quite identify. "Your presentation was exceptional," he remarked later in his office. "I want you to oversee the entire operation in South America." "Are you sure?" Carla inquired, taken aback by the weight of the responsibility. "I've never been more certain of anything," he responded, maintaining her gaze a moment longer than needed. The promotion brought a new office, his own team, and a salary that enabled him to relocate to a chic apartment in a prestigious neighborhood. Yet, Carla remained steadfast in her work ethic. She was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. One evening, as they sifted through documents in Nicholas' office, he caught her off guard with a revelation. "Do you know why I brought you on board that day?" he inquired, setting the papers aside. "In your gaze, I perceived a familiar spark, a yearning to validate your worth, to transform your identity. I've experienced that journey as well." Carla regarded him with curiosity. Nicholas Ferrer, the enigmatic tycoon, rarely spoke of his history. "My first marriage concluded in a manner akin to yours," he said, a shadow crossing his gaze. "She departed for someone wealthier, indeed, but what truly affected me was the manner in which she chose to leave. One morning, I awoke to discover our account depleted, our dreams shattered, and a note on the table declaring it had never sufficed. I had devoted years to constructing something remarkable, driven not by ambition but by the dread of being deemed worthless once more." Carla felt a lump in her throat. For the first time, he perceived in Nicholas not just the merciless entrepreneur but a man who had endured and emerged anew, bearing unseen scars. "And he did it," he replied gently, recognizing that he too carried wounds beneath the surface. "We did it," he amended. "This past year, with your presence, the company has experienced growth beyond what we achieved in the last 5. The atmosphere between them was filled with a unique tension. They had transcended the roles of mere boss and employee engaged in business discussions. Two individuals had navigated the treacherous waters of betrayal, each grasping the significance of transformation. "We should celebrate," he proposed, catching her off guard. "Let's have dinner outside the office to discuss expansion." Naturally. A flutter of anticipation stirred within Carla. He replied, striving to maintain a professional demeanor. That evening, as she organized her belongings, Carla caught a glimpse of herself in the window's reflection. The woman staring back bore no resemblance to the one who had faced humiliation at the gala. She exuded strength and success, and for the first time in ages, she felt prepared for something beyond her career. Unbeknownst to him, this professional dinner would signal the start of an entirely new chapter in his life. Whispers about Esteban and Valeria started to spread through business circles like an unspoken truth. What began as a scandalous romance was swiftly evolving into a public spectacle. Valeria, who had envisioned a life filled with luxury and social gatherings, started to reveal her true self. Her extravagant spending on designer clothes and jewelry was beginning to strain Esteban's finances. Their displays of jealousy turned into tales whispered in the most elite dining establishments in the city. "Who was that woman you were conversing with?" he shouted at her one evening during a business dinner. "I noticed the way he gazed at you." The woman involved was a prospective investor. The agreement slipped away that very evening. Esteban started to observe alterations in his bank account. Significant amounts vanished in mysterious transactions. When he confronted Valeria, she reacted with tears and allegations of mistrust. "After all I sacrificed for you," was her go-to line. "Is this how you repay me?" Valeria's absences grew more common. She claimed to be out shopping with friends, but the whispers painted a different picture. They had spotted her in cozy restaurants with Ricardo Mendez, a younger and wealthier businessman compared to Esteban. One morning, while sifting through the mail, Esteban stumbled upon credit card statements that were unfamiliar to him. Valeria had been establishing lines of credit under her name. "How could you?" he asserted. "I need to maintain a certain level," she responded, devoid of any regret. "Or do you want your wife to dress like everyone else?" The term wife grew increasingly bitter on his tongue. Esteban started to reflect on his life with Carla. She had always been different. Her elegance seemed effortless. His serene and assured demeanor. The altercations turned into a routine. Neighbors started to remark on the cries echoing from their home. Invitations to social gatherings dwindled. The fear of another public scandal loomed large. One evening, following yet another heated confrontation, Esteban stumbled upon Valeria's phone, left unlocked. The exchanges with Ricardo Mendez validated his doubts. "My love, we will be together soon," one message read. "This old fool doesn't realize anything," she responded. The irony was not lost on him. The individual who had so openly betrayed Carla was now enduring the same anguish he had inflicted upon her. As he sat alone in his study with a drink, he caught sight of the financial news reporting that the Ferrer Group had triumphantly completed its expansion into South America. The image captured Nicholas Ferrer alongside his executive team. Among them, glowing and poised, was Carla. The glass in his hand trembled slightly. The woman he had cast aside now radiated with a brilliance he couldn't ignore, even as his own life crumbled around him. The exchange between Carla and Nicholas unfolded over several hours. The Italian restaurant perched atop the Mirador Hotel boasted a breathtaking view of the city, yet they remained oblivious to it, completely engrossed in their dialogue. "I never imagined that you also liked photography," Carla remarked, taken aback by this new side of her boss. "There are many things you don't know about me," Nicholas replied, his typical seriousness lightened by the wine and the flow of conversation, as if he were mastering the art of cooking in Paris while pursuing his business studies. The numbers and strategies faded into the background. They exchanged stories of journeys, literature, and aspirations both realized and yet to come. The underlying tension that had always lingered between them evolved into a more intimate warmth. In the office, the atmosphere over the following days shifted noticeably. The glances lingered just a moment too long. An unintentional brush while exchanging documents created a silence thick with significance. Following a notably successful presentation, Nicholas extended an invitation to celebrate. This time, there were no formalities to mask the invitation. "Would you like to have dinner with me?" he inquired straightforwardly. Not in the dynamic of a superior and a subordinate, but simply as Nicholas and Carla. The restaurant felt cozier this time around. At one moment during the evening, he reached for her hand across the table. "I like you, Carla," he stated with the same straightforwardness he applied in his professional life, "and I believe you're aware of it." Her heart raced. "I like you too," he confessed. "But I'm scared. The last time I intertwined my professional life with romance." "I'm not Esteban," he interjected softly. "And you are no longer the same woman." The ensuing weeks unfolded like a careful choreography, balancing the realms of work and intimacy. Within the confines of the office, they maintained a facade of professionalism. Yet, as night fell, the atmosphere transformed entirely. Dinners, concerts, and lengthy conversations filled their evenings. One night, following a company event, Nicholas invited her to his penthouse. "I want to show you something," he said, guiding her into a room that revealed itself as a makeshift photography studio. The walls adorned with monochrome photographs, depicting landscapes, faces, and fleeting moments frozen in time. "This is where my heart lies," he admitted. "While business holds its significance, this is what ignites my spirit." Carla observed the images, touched by this unveiling of fragility in a man whom all deemed unassailable. "They are beautiful," she murmured, glancing at him. Their gazes locked, and in that moment, there were no justifications or uncertainties. The kiss began gently, gradually building in intensity, infused with the emotions they had kept hidden. As they pulled away, Nicholas leaned his forehead against hers. "I don't want this to be a secret," he confessed. "I'm unreserved in my feelings for you." Carla smiled, a blend of joy and trepidation swirling within her. This time, it was assured that things would be different. This time it felt genuine. Carla became aware of the initial signs during a crucial meeting. The scent of coffee, usually a favorite, turned her stomach. The faint dizziness he had brushed aside for days could no longer be dismissed as mere fatigue. In her office bathroom, cradling a pregnancy test, time felt suspended. Two pink lines emerged unmistakably. Positive. I'm pregnant, she murmured, a whirlwind of fear and excitement churning within her. His thoughts raced with questions. What would Nicholas's response be? They had only shared 6 months together. Their bond, while deep and genuine, was still in its infancy. And what implications would this have for his career? The South American project was at a pivotal stage. In the days that followed, Carla held on to her secret, watching Nicholas during meetings, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal her truth. However, he sensed a shift. Are you okay? He inquired of her one afternoon, a hint of concern in his voice. You look pale. We need to talk, she replied. But not here. That night, in Nicholas's apartment, Carla paced back and forth, her anxiety palpable as he observed her with growing concern. What's happening, Carla? You're scaring me, he said. She halted in front of him, inhaled deeply, and retrieved the pregnancy test from her purse. I'm pregnant, she stated plainly, observing his expression for any sign of response. Nicholas remained motionless for a moment, his gaze locked on the test. Gradually, he rose and moved toward the window, his hand rubbing his chin in a tight motion. I never saw this coming, he confessed at last. I'm not sure I'm prepared for this, Carla. Neither am I, she replied candidly, sensing the tremor of fear in her tone. The stillness lingered, and for a fleeting moment, Carla's heart sank with dread. Yet, Nicholas broke the tension, approaching her and gently grasping her hands. I'm not prepared, but I desire to be, he declared with conviction. And if this means we're going to be a family, then we'll find a way. Carla felt a tear slip down her cheek, a wave of relief washing over her. It wasn't the ideal response, but it was genuine. As they parted ways, Carla witnessed a sight she had never encountered before, tears glistening in Nicholas Ferrer's eyes. But your career, the project, she started to say. We'll find a way, he cut in, his voice firm. United. There's no need to pick one role over the other, you can embrace both motherhood and a successful career. I will stand by you in all your endeavors. That evening, nestled together on the couch, they envisioned their future. Conversations flowed around the topic of physicians, shifts within the workplace, and the quest for harmony between professional responsibilities and family life. Do you understand? Nicholas asked, softly stroking Carla's belly. I believe this little one is the finest agreement we've secured to date. Carla chuckled, her tears of joy blending seamlessly with her laughter. For the first time in his life, he sensed that everything was perfectly aligned. The announcement of Carla's pregnancy was approached with subtlety in the workplace. The news reached only the most trusted team, and their reaction was filled with authentic delight. Nicholas, recognized for his detached demeanor, astonished everyone with subtle gestures that unveiled his feelings. One morning, Carla arrived at her office to discover a bouquet of flowers accompanied by a note. For the most promising future leader in the corporate realm. Details like this became increasingly common. In the midst of an especially drawn-out meeting, Nicholas suddenly cut in on the presentation upon seeing that Carla appeared quite pale. In an hour, we shall resume, he declared, offering no further clarification. Shortly thereafter, his assistant arrived, carrying a plate adorned with fruit and crackers, reputed to alleviate morning sickness. The true influence emerged in the course of a board meeting. Nicholas unveiled an innovative idea, a corporate daycare situated within the company premises. Ability knows no gender, he stated to the board, and we must not forfeit valuable leaders simply because they choose to embrace parenthood. The proposal received approval, setting a significant precedent in the local business landscape. Within the confines of his home, Nicholas underwent a remarkable transformation. The individual who once intimidated experienced leaders now dedicated countless hours to exploring literature on parenting and child growth. One evening, as they enjoyed a meal together at home, Nicholas presented Carla with an envelope. "What is this?" she inquired. "Please open it." Within the confines, he discovered legal documents. Nicholas revised his will and the company's share structure, securing a future for her and the baby. "I never want you to experience what you faced in the past," he clarified. "I want you to understand that both you and our son will always be safeguarded." Carla, touched, observed something else in the documents. "A house?" she inquired, taken aback. "It's in Las Lomas," he affirmed. "A garden for the little one to explore and a studio for your creative endeavors, allowing you to work from home whenever necessary." Tears started to stream down Carla's face. "I thought you were against marriage," she murmured, catching sight of another detail in the papers. Nicholas sank to one knee before her, retrieving a small box from his pocket. "Before I met you, I was skeptical about so much," he said, lifting the lid of the box to unveil a ring. "Would you grant me the privilege of officially beginning a family together?" Carla's reply came swiftly, her voice trembling with emotion as she whispered, "Yes." Later that night, as Nicholas lay peacefully asleep, Carla found herself deep in thought, contemplating the many twists and turns life had presented her. The anguish of her history with Esteban now felt like a fading echo, almost essential to arrive at this juncture. Gently caressing her slightly rounded belly, she murmured, "Your daddy is an exceptional man, sweetheart, and we are truly fortunate." The convention center sparkled with the brilliance of the year's most significant event. Carla, now serving as the vice president of the Ferrer Group, strode with assurance beside Nicholas. Her 5-month pregnancy was subtly concealed beneath her exquisite dress, crafted specifically for the event. "Are you prepared to deliver the speech?" Nicholas inquired, softly gripping her hand. "I was born ready," she replied, her smile radiating assurance. The gathering united the most influential entrepreneurs in the nation. Carla was tasked with presenting the results of the South American expansion, a remarkable achievement that had doubled the value of the Ferrer Group. As he exchanged pleasantries with a few executives, he caught sight of him. Esteban stood by the bar, a glass of whiskey in hand. He appeared more aged, wearier. For a fleeting instant, their gazes intertwined. "Carla," Nicholas murmured softly, "now is your moment." He approached the podium with the assuredness of someone fully aware of his identity. His presentation was flawless. The figures, the forecasts, the envisioned future, all unfolded seamlessly and with confidence. After the cocktail event, Esteban made his way over. He had indulged in some drinks. "You seem changed," he remarked, his voice a bit unsteady. "I am," Carla replied succinctly. "Is it true? Are you expecting Ferrer's child?" "My personal life is not your concern, Esteban." "I made a mistake," he started. "No, Esteban," she cut him off. "You made the best mistake of my life. You liberated me to discover my true path." Nicholas stood beside her, his presence strong and reassuring. "Is everything all right, darling?" he asked, though his gaze remained locked on Esteban. "Perfect," Carla replied. "Actually, I believe it's time to leave. Tomorrow, we have the ultrasound to discover the baby's sex." Esteban observed them as they walked away, noting how Nicholas placed his hand protectively on Carla's back, how she instinctively leaned towards him, the unspoken understanding in her movements. "They seem happy," someone beside him remarked. "Indeed, they are," another voice replied. "It is said that he has transformed entirely since being with her. As for her, well, her story is known to all. From assistant to vice president in no time at all. Unmatched skill." Esteban downed the remainder of his whiskey in a single swallow. From the living room window, he observed Carla and Nicholas as they entered their car. She was laughing at something he had said, her hand resting instinctively on her belly. In that moment, Esteban realized that some mistakes cannot be undone, and that sometimes what appears to be a tragedy can mark the beginning of something extraordinary for others. The days following the event were unbearable for Esteban. The vision of Carla, glowing and triumphant, lingered in his mind. Each news article about the Ferrer Group, every reference to his name in the business world felt like salt in a fresh wound. In his office, now notably more confined than it once was, he devoted hours to scrolling through old photos on his phone. Images from a time when he was a thriving entrepreneur, when Carla stood by his side as his wife, when life appeared flawless. "Sir," his secretary broke the silence. "Mrs. Valeria is on the phone. He says it's urgent." Stephen let out a weary sigh. Valeria's calls carried an air of urgency, particularly when financial matters were at stake. "Inform him that I'm currently in a meeting." The whispers surrounding Valeria and Ricardo Mendez had reached a point where they could no longer be overlooked. He had observed them together in restaurants, at events, always feigning that they were merely friends. During lunch at his favorite spot, Elmater acknowledged him with less reverence than usual. His regular table was taken by a cluster of young executives. "I apologize, sir," Elmater said, his tone sincere. As he sat at the bar, he overheard two businessmen discussing the Ferrer Group. "Did you catch Carla Montero's presentation? It was impressive. It's hard to believe that her former partner chose wealth over their relationship. Now, he's with Ferrer, and they're expecting a child together. He is infatuated with her. Rumor has it he even altered the company's bylaws to increase his authority." Esteban gripped his glass so tightly that it nearly shattered. Returning to his office, he was met with more troubling news from his assistant. A number of investors were pulling their support. Esteban's reputation for personal instability was taking a toll on his business. That night, while Valeria was out with friends, Esteban found himself at home, aimlessly browsing the internet. As he scrolled, he stumbled upon a recent interview featuring Carla in a business magazine. "Success is not just about numbers," she stated in the interview. "It's a journey of personal growth, discovering one's true worth. Occasionally, we must lose everything to truly find ourselves." The image that accompanied the article depicted Carla in her office, gazing out over the cityscape. Her pregnancy was already evident, and her smile radiated a tranquility that Esteban had never witnessed in her throughout their marriage. "Idiot," he muttered to himself, tossing the tablet onto the couch. "You had it all along, and you failed to recognize it." The sudden ringing of his phone jolted him from his reverie. A message from his bank appeared on the screen, notifying him of yet another significant transfer from his account. The name of the beneficiary, Valeria Ruiz. The irony of the situation struck him with a harsh clarity. He, who had forsaken a remarkable woman for someone solely interested in his wealth, was now facing the consequences of his choices. Driven by a sense of urgency, Esteban made a hasty choice. On a dreary, rain-soaked morning, he arrived at the Ferrer Group offices unannounced. "I must speak with Carla Montero," he demanded at the front desk. "Madam Montero Ferrer is currently in a meeting," the receptionist replied, placing emphasis on the compound surname. "You have an appointment. Let him know it's Esteban. She is familiar with me. Apologies, but I can't accommodate you without a scheduled time." Esteban settled into the lobby, resolute in his decision to wait. Time slipped away. Executives and employees flowed in and out, some glancing his way and murmuring among themselves. At last, just before noon, Carla entered the lobby alongside Nicholas. Her 6-month pregnancy was now quite evident, accentuated by the elegant maternity outfit she wore that beautifully showcased her condition. "Carla," Esteban called, rising to his feet. She halted, taken aback. Nicholas stepped forward, instinctively protective, but Carla halted him with a gentle motion. "It's okay," she reassured him. "Can you give me a moment?" Nicholas nodded, remaining nearby, keenly watching the unfolding scene. "What do you want, Esteban?" Carla inquired, her tone measured and detached. "I have been reflecting. On us, on everything that transpired. There is no us, Esteban. There hasn't been one for a long time. I made a mistake, he insisted. I long for your presence. Life without you. Stop, she interjected with determination. Please refrain from this action. Stop putting yourself in embarrassing situations. But observe me, Esteban, she remarked, her tone gentler now. I feel a deep sense of joy, genuinely joyful. I enjoy a fulfilling career, share my life with a loving and respectful husband, and am looking forward to welcoming a child. What we shared is now a memory of days gone by. Perhaps we could give it another shot, he urged. I realize I've erred, yet errors are our greatest teachers, she replied, her hand gently resting on her belly. You revealed my true worth, and for that, I ironically express my gratitude. Nicholas drew near, softly resting his hand on Carla's back. Are you ready for lunch, darling? Later, we have a scheduled visit with the pediatrician. Absolutely, let's head out, she replied, glancing back at Esteban one final time. Farewell, Esteban. Wishing you all the best. Esteban observed their departure, noting how Nicholas sheltered Carla with the umbrella as they approached his car, how he assisted her in getting inside, the subtle displays of affection shared between them. In that moment, amidst the rain cascading before the formidable Ferrer Group building, Esteban grasped the harsh truth that certain losses are irrevocable. He realized that the deepest anguish often stems not from the act of losing, but from witnessing what was once his thrive in another's possession. Carla's dismissal signaled the onset of a troubling descent in Esteban's existence. As he made his way back to his office that day, he stumbled upon a letter from his accountant. The accounts were in the negative. Sir, his assistant interjected, Mrs. Valeria took out another 2 million from the joint account this morning. Esteban remained unfazed. I had a feeling something like that would happen. What he didn't anticipate was coming home to an empty house that night. Valeria had cleared out the safes and taken all the jewelry, including pieces that had belonged to her mother. Only a single note lay on the table. I'm going with Ricardo. He certainly knows how to treat a woman. Do not seek me out. The upcoming weeks unfolded like a relentless stream of unfortunate events. Financial institutions began reaching out regarding unpaid loans. Support from investors vanished. Whispers of his financial troubles circulated rapidly throughout the business community. In a meeting with his lawyer, the weight of reality crashed down on him. Esteban, the attorney remarked, adjusting his spectacles. Valeria had full legal access to all accounts. The transfers were sanctioned, and the prenup you signed, well, let's just say it was quite favorable to her. What remains for me? Esteban inquired, a sense of dread creeping in. Only enough to keep the company running if you move quickly. However, the house, the cars, the summer properties, they will all need to be sold. At the social club where he had once been treated like a king, he now received little more than a nod. His cherished table was now permanently set aside for Ricardo Mendez, who relished every chance to flaunt his connection with Valeria. That afternoon, after uncovering Valeria's treachery, Esteban made one final effort to reclaim his company. He gathered the handful of investors who still believed in him, laying out a frantic scheme to salvage what remained. Yet, the harm had already been inflicted. No one was willing to risk their resources on a man whose reputation lay in tatters. One by one, the investors turned down his proposal. With no alternatives left, he parted with his final luxury car. It was then, as he made his way across the street, that he spotted Carla and Nicholas in a baby store. She clutched a tiny onesie while he embraced her from behind, their laughter filling the air, unaware of his existence. In that moment, Esteban experienced the essence of profound defeat for the first time. Later, in his rented apartment, having sold the house, he stumbled upon a business magazine. The cover featured an article highlighting the 50 most powerful women in business, with Carla ranking in the top 10. Her story, as noted in the article, exemplifies resilience. Transitioning from a betrayed wife to one of the nation's most esteemed executives, her journey serves as an inspiration to many. Esteban shut the magazine and poured himself another whiskey. The amber liquid had lost its former flavor. Like everything else in his life, it had taken a turn for the worse. His phone rang. It was yet another creditor. With shaking hands, he silenced it. In the dim glow of the black screen, he caught a glimpse of his weary and weathered visage. How had it led to this moment? The explanation was straightforward. His choices had guided him precisely to the place he had earned. In a final, fervent effort to reclaim fragments of his former existence, Esteban orchestrated a serendipitous encounter with Carla. Aware of her routine lunch visits to the restaurant in the business center, he patiently lingered there for 3 consecutive days. On the 4th day, she finally arrived. Her advanced pregnancy gave her a radiant glow, prompting several executives to pause and greet her with respect as she made her way to her usual table. "Carla," he called out, intercepting her before she could reach her destination. "I need to talk to you." She regarded him with a blend of astonishment and irritation. "Esteban, we've already discussed this. Just give me 5 minutes, please. It's about us." "Us?" she interjected, her tone steady yet assertive. "We faded away long ago." "I loved you," he declared. "I still love you. I made the gravest error of my life by letting you slip away." Carla inhaled deeply, her hand gently resting on her belly. "No, Esteban, your error was in holding me back. Your error was in failing to appreciate my worth when I was yours. We can attempt this once more. I understand that you are, shall we say, expecting now, but could we? Do you grasp what you're articulating?" She cut him off. "I am married, blissfully married. I am expecting a child with the man I love. And you suggest that I abandon all that for you?" "I have changed," he pleaded. "Life has taught me." "Life imparts lessons to everyone," she replied. "He showed me my worth. He made me realize that I deserve a partner who loves and respects me, not one who comes back only when he has nothing left." The diners in the vicinity started to take in the unfolding drama. Esteban caught sight of disdainful glances aimed his way. "Carla, please." "No," she stated with conviction. "This is the final time we will discuss this. I genuinely wish you well, Esteban, but my life is with Nicholas and our child." At that moment, as if drawn by an unseen force, Nicholas entered the restaurant. He moved with a serene confidence, his presence both commanding and composed. "Is everything all right, my dear?" she inquired, softly resting her hand on Carla's back. "Indeed," she responded with a smile directed at him. "I was just about to depart." As they strolled away in unison, Esteban observed them closely. He observed Nicholas drawing out the chair for Carla, the way her smile radiated genuine affection, and how he leaned in to share a whisper that sparked her laughter. In that moment, witnessing the effortless closeness they shared, Esteban realized he had lost not just a woman, but the chance to become a better version of himself. That loss, more than any financial downfall, stung the deepest. The morning unfolded with an unexpected call for Esteban. His bank informed him of substantial transfers executed overnight. Every account, including those hidden overseas, had been drained. "Sir," his flustered assistant exclaimed as she rushed into the office, "Mrs. Valeria," she didn't need to complete her thought. The papers scattered across his desk spoke volumes. Valeria had not only drained the accounts but had also liquidated company shares, all thanks to a power of attorney he had foolishly given her months prior. The assistant handed him an envelope, saying, "He also left this." Inside was a brief note. "Thank you for everything, dear. Ricardo and I will relish your kindness in the Maldives. Don't waste your time searching for me, by the time you come across this, we'll be long gone. P.S. Your mother's jewelry fetched a great price on the black market." Esteban slumped into his chair, the burden of his choices finally overwhelming him. His phone incessantly buzzed with calls. Creditors, partners, banks, all clamoring for answers. In under a day, his entire existence crumbled. The word of his downfall raced through the business community like wildfire. The last of his partners pulled back their backing. Suppliers insisted on upfront payments. That afternoon, as he was tidying his office, he stumbled upon an old photograph from his wedding to Carla. The irony struck him with the force of a blow. He had deceived a woman who truly cared for him in favor of someone who viewed him merely as a source of wealth. In the parking lot, his final luxury vehicle had been taken away. He was left to hail a taxi to make his way back to his humble rented apartment. The news on television delivered the final blow. A financial scandal unfolds. Businessman Esteban Martinez loses it all in a love scam. Valeria Ruiz, his wife, vanishes with a fortune. The phone rang one final time. It was Ricardo Mendez. "I just wanted to thank you," he said with a hint of sarcasm. "Valeria is a remarkable partner, albeit a bit pricey, wouldn't you agree?" Esteban ended the call and hurled the phone against the wall. He poured himself a glass of inexpensive whiskey. She found herself unable to indulge in her beloved brands any longer, sitting in the shadows of her apartment. Across the street, a massive screen illuminated the night with corporate advertisements. The Farah Group logo glowed brightly, a stark reminder of all that had slipped away from her grasp. The ultimate irony of his existence struck him at that moment. He had sacrificed a precious woman to the vices of greed and lust, only to be undone by those very same forces. Karma, he mused with a bitter edge, possessed a rather warped sense of humor. The arrival of baby Alejandro Ferrer Montero was marked by a subtle announcement in the social column. Staying true to their nature, Carla and Nicholas chose to keep the occasion intimate, reveling in their joy with only family and close friends. In the hospital room, Nicholas cradled his son while Carla gazed at them with affection. The infant possessed his mother's captivating gaze and his father's robust jawline. "It's simply exquisite," Nicholas murmured, his eyes glistening with unshed tears, reminiscent of his mother. Life at the Ferrer Montero household embraced a fresh cadence. Carla demonstrated that motherhood and executive leadership could coexist harmoniously. The corporate daycare established by Nicholas emerged as a benchmark for other organizations, with Alejandro as its inaugural and most content participant. In board meetings, Carla strived to assert herself, yet the fatigue from sleepless nights and the pangs of guilt for leaving her son at home were starting to take their toll. After a challenging meeting, he retreated to his office, taking a deep breath as tears threatened to spill. Nicholas entered without knocking and discovered her in this state, weary and exposed. "What's wrong?" he inquired gently. "I feel like I'm not enough anywhere," she admitted. "Neither as a mother nor as a vice president." Nicholas observed her for a moment before walking towards her and wrapping her in a comforting embrace. "You are more than enough," he said. "But you don't have to do it alone. We're in this together, remember?" Carla exhaled slowly, allowing her tension to fade gradually. It was a challenging journey, yet he found himself embraced by a level of support he had never experienced before. The Ferrer Group pressed on with its growth, now prioritizing family and equity policies. Carla spearheaded these efforts, transforming her personal experiences into meaningful advancements within the company. One afternoon, as Carla tended to Alejandro in his office, she received some unsettling news. Esteban's company had been declared bankrupt, and the assets were set to be auctioned off to settle debts. "Are you okay?" Nicholas asked, having quietly stepped into the office. "Yes," she replied, her gaze warm and affectionate towards her son. "You know, there was a time when I believed that losing everything meant the world had come to an end. In moments of loss, we often discover the true essence of gain." Nicholas drew near, enveloping his family in a warm embrace. Outside the office window, the sunset bathed the sky in golden hues, mirroring the joy that filled their hearts. "Who could have imagined," Nicholas smiled, that my most brilliant business move would be to bring on an inexperienced assistant. And mine, placing faith in a seemingly aloof boss, she replied, kissing him gently. Alejandro chimed in joyfully, as if giving his parents' words his seal of approval. The young boy already exhibited the resolve of his mother and the calmness of his father. In that instant, as she embraced her son and was enveloped by her husband, Carla grasped a fundamental truth. True success is not quantified by wealth or authority, but by the capacity to create something significant and enduring. Esteban's betrayal, which had once appeared to shatter her, had ultimately sparked her genuine happiness. Sometimes, he mused, endings are merely beginnings in disguise. As night enveloped the city, the Ferrer Montero family stood as a testament that true love, mutual respect, and determination can create something far more precious than any material wealth. 5 years later, on a frigid winter morning, Esteban strolled through the bustling streets of the financial district. His attire, though tidy, bore the marks of time. He had taken on a role as a consultant at a modest firm, a position far beneath his previous stature, yet sufficient for his survival. He paused before a newsstand, drawn in by a cover that felt all too familiar. The magazine Empresarios de Hoy featured a stunning photograph that left him momentarily speechless. Carla and Nicholas Ferrer stood proudly, their little son Alejandro, now 5, nestled beside them, while Carla cradled their newborn in her arms. The Ferrer Monteros, crafting a legacy rooted in family principles, caught Esteban's eye as he perused the headline. The piece emphasized their transformative impact on the corporate landscape through innovative work-family balance initiatives. Glancing through the store's window, Esteban absorbed snippets of the article. The Ferrer Group had seen its value triple. Carla had gained international recognition as a leader in business innovation. The corporate daycare program had been expanded to all branches across Latin America. "Are you planning to purchase the magazine, sir?" inquired the salesman. Esteban simply shook his head. "I had no desire to delve further." The picture captured everything. Radiant Carla, more stunning than ever. Nicholas gazing at her with pure adoration, little Alejandro beaming with the same sparkling eyes as his mother, and the new baby rounding out their perfect family. As he strolled away, memories of the last update on Valeria flooded his mind. She and Ricardo had faced devastation from a poor investment in Dubai. The most recent whispers suggested that she was now serving tables somewhere in Europe. Fate, Esteban mused, had a curious knack for delivering justice. Upon entering his humble office, he discovered an invitation awaiting him on his desk. The Ferrer Group was hosting a charity gala to launch its new foundation to support women entrepreneurs. Esteban tucked the invitation away in a drawer. "I had no intention of attending, naturally." Certain places had ceased to be his. That night, from the window of his small apartment, he could see the Ferrer Group building illuminating the horizon. Somewhere in that glass tower, he envisioned Carla in her office, likely working late while Nicholas tended to the kids. Ultimately, he whispered to himself, she had always been the stronger of the two. In the solitude of his transformed existence, Esteban came to realize that some losses can indeed be hidden blessings, not for the one who suffers, but for the one who finds liberation. Carla's greatest misstep had inadvertently sparked her most significant triumph, an irony she would carry with her always. To our cherished readers who embark on this thrilling journey of resilience and genuine affection, if the tale of Carla and Nicholas resonated with you, if you relished the poetic justice served to Esteban and Valeria, or if you simply reveled in this whirlwind of feelings, please remember to express your appreciation, share your favorite moments, and pass this narrative along to someone in need of a spark to rise and shine. If you're looking for more tales that evoke laughter, tears, and a sense of resilience, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell for updates. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. What country are you joining us from on this adventure? Your thoughts mean a lot to our community.